Hey guys, welcome to another episode of NC Gaming. My name is Carter.
And I'm Nick.
Alright, and this week we're going to be breaking into Pokemon Snakewood. This was an interesting hacked ROM of the Pokemon Ruby title, which was developed a few years ago by a guy with the username Cutlerine. And it's definitely got a bit of a different feel from the average Pokemon game. So right on the outset here, it looks like the average entry for those of you who played Ruby, or we decided to play this after the re-release of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Sapphire, but this one goes a bit more to the roots. Did you play the original Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire?
Yeah, they were definitely, I think that was my favorite generation as a whole. It was like the graphics were really good and not like outrageous. They weren't relying on all kinds of like fancy effects, but it was just like, you know, just down and dirty, awesome Pokemon, and they had a lot of new stuff. It was just so much fun. I remember, actually, I played it on my friend's DS. I was hanging out at his house, and I just basically played a game straight for like 6 hours, and I didn't save it, but I was just mesmerized. I think it was the reason I bought a Game Boy Advance. I was like, I think Game Boys were starting to become less cool as they were in 5th grade.
Oh, nothing's ever as cool as the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, but I'm really excited to see this because Carter played through this, and I'm actually seeing a lot of this stuff for the first time. So everything I'm reading now, I'm seeing for the first time. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's so interesting with these hacked ROMs, which are really common, and so it's a really cool
opportunity.
Yes. That Pokemon looks strange. And what made these so interesting was what you could change on the game data and what you couldn't. So a lot of these sprites are the same, or a lot of them are changed, but then you're going to see some sprites and some data that's just completely new.
Oh, really? Huh.
And that's what is going to make this so interesting. The other small twist, yes, very angry.
What does the girl look like? Did you ever see that?
I actually didn't.
That'd be funny. We'll find that out.
Yeah. So the other twist that we're going to be doing with this game, for those of you who are maybe a little bit more experienced or spend a little more time on the Pokemon community, we're going to be doing the Nuzlocke challenge. And have you ever done the Nuzlocke challenge before, Nick, or heard about it at all?
I've heard about it. I've never tried it, mostly because I like my Pokemon too much, and the idea of releasing a Pokemon just makes me want to cry. So I don't think I have the guts to try it. Although after this, hearing about this, I think I'll definitely have to try it sometime.
Right. Well, you definitely hit on one of the key points of the Nuzlocke challenge. Essentially, the main two rules of the Nuzlocke challenge are that if a Pokemon faints, you have to release it immediately. So no revives, no trips to the Pokemon Center. As you can see here, we've been settled back in Little Root Town.
His town is just destroyed.
It is gone. And
I love the little dancing flowers you have in these old games. They're just kind of like bobbing their heads back and forth with whatever kind of music.
I think they were doing anything to bring life into the game.
Especially in this scene.
Oh, yes.
Where there are nothing but
Professor
stones.
Birch's house. Yes.
All those tree professors.
So, at this point, this was also, just so you know, this is my first time playing through Snakewood as well. I loved the Hoenn region, so when I heard that there was a ROM hack doing a sort of post-apocalyptic take, I thought that would be fun.
So do we want to bring everyone up to speed? So you said you're releasing a Pokemon when it faints.
Right.
What other rules? So when you basically have to catch the first Pokemon in any zone, route, whatever you have. You're only allowed to catch that Pokemon. Right. And if that Pokemon were to faint and you were to release it, you cannot go back to that zone to catch another Pokemon. So there's actually a limited amount of Pokemon. So I imagine you're like obsessively healing your Pokemon as
absolutely.
you go. You're probably like every trainer you fight, you're turning around, walking a mile, healing, and then coming back.
You also definitely have to level, and I will say on the outset that you'll notice some level jumping. I decided for entertainment's sake that nobody here needed to be dragged along for the journey of leveling up just to meet these challenges. Also, you have to nickname every Pokemon, and I decided that since this is a post-apocalyptic game, all of the Pokemon are going to be named after post-apocalyptic characters, authors, so-and-so. So my Baltoy's name is Grimes, after Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead.
Excellent. Also, did you know that it was Norman Reedus' birthday yesterday?
That's good to know.
Thought I'd just point that out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! That's such a good idea.
Yep. So this is obviously taken from the great scene at the beginning of the game where he's being chased by a Poochyena.
Which I always thought was a funny scene. Like, You know, in the very first Pokemon game, you go into like the tall grass. Oh my goodness, this is.
Bulbasaur.
But real quick, I mean, it's just so funny to me. Like in the very first Pokemon game, you know, Professor Oak stops you. He's like, "No, wait! Don't go into the tall grass without a Pokemon." And here you have this, you know, awful professor who the first scene is actually getting chased by like a level 3 Pokemon.
He has no idea.
Or in this case, a zombie.
The zombie crumbled into dust.
Who's, yeah, Zombie Joey or whatever.
Zombie Kid Joey.
Yeah. My Rattata is in the top percentage. Oh my goodness.
But this really is just like kind of your introduction to the world itself, and Professor Birch is explaining to you, yes, the world has come to an end for the typical amnesia, typical memory loss is an excuse to explain
of course,
what the issues are. And also, your character in this game is the younger brother of the champion from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire.
Oh, interesting. That kind
Right.
of makes sense.
And his partner May, and they've gone missing. So essentially your job is to try to find them.
Wow, this is like a deeper plot than most,
yes.
most normal Pokemon games.
Yes, it is definitely a deeper plot, and it hits on a lot of interesting points.
So are the zombies trainers?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
And there's more than just zombies as well. There's
Okay.
also looters,
Oh, wow.
demons, and all kinds of funny characters. And you're going to see a lot of the assortments of just the regular Pokemon that you're used to. As you can see out here, I got immediately taken to the Pokemon Center here. And we keep them in this Poke Center. And interestingly enough, the game decides to take you immediately to Odale Town.
Okay.
And
Trying to remember where's the... Is that like the second or third town
it's the second town that you go to.
I remember in Rupee there's like 4 towns that are like you never go back to. It's like before anything interesting happens.
Yep, and this is one of them. And the typical explaining of the Pokemon.
Oh yeah, you have to have that.
Oh, of course.
You have to have the guy that shows you around the town and teaches you how to catch Pokemon.
Because you'll never figure it out.
No,
Nobody teaches you how to catch a Pokemon in this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a really interesting...
Although I do remember the first time I played, I think I got Pokemon Yellow for Christmas. That was my first game. And I was like... I was just so confused. I think I even like clicked through the catch Pokemon. I wasn't paying attention. I had no idea how to catch a Pokemon. I was so frustrated because they kept fainting. And I thought that if you beat it, you would automatically catch it. And I had this like, you know, level 15 Pikachu that would just one-hit KO everything. And so I like couldn't catch anything. I was so frustrated.
Well, Pikachu was actually made to be a really strong amateur-level Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it had no use in competitive play, but it was very, very fast. And electric types have typically been
especially in their first generation. Electric, in my opinion, was just like clearly one of the more overpowered types.
Well, usually what's interesting in future generations, when they introduce a new type, you know, in like second generation Dark, or in the most recent X and Y Fairy, they usually make them slightly overpowered. And then just follow it up by in the next generation, like weakening them.
Right.
So here's another.
That makes sense.
Bit
oh, okay, I know where we are now.
Right.
At least based on that.
What are you doing? Yeah, he's explaining a little bit more about the world that you're living in.
Right.
They're not afraid of dialogue, which I will give the.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's just one guy.
Yeah, one guy just developed this ROM hack.
It's pretty legit.
Yeah. So at this point, now I don't know if you caught before the starter Pokemon that you have a choice to choose between. Yeah. Which is Baltoy, Coughing, and Paris.
Yeah.
Which are all very.
Baltoy's a pretty legit Pokemon in my opinion. Kind of underappreciated.
I'll actually say that I regret
choosing
Baltoy, and you'll see why, because Baltoy is psychic and ground.
Out of those 3, I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't think
Coughing.
Nobody poison type Pokemon rarely make the final cut.
Any Pokemon that Team Rocket uses, you know, it's not great.
Oh my gosh, any one of those generic, which is ironic because my next Pokemon I'm capturing here is Poochyena, which is one of the typical.
He wasn't bad. I used him a lot. He was like, you know, you ditch him when he reached like level 35. You'd like replace him with a legendary. You know, you got a lot of use.
Right. The legendaries, by the way, in this game are done completely differently.
Oh, really?
They're all Fakemon. And they're all very strange. And you'll get to see a couple of the Fakemon coming up here.
Oh, okay.
And actually, one of the really interesting things, just getting to take a look around the Pokemon, if any of you haven't spent a lot of time on Bulbapedia, I highly recommend just seeing some of the creations by other people. A lot of interesting abilities, like Shedinja's Wonder Guard makes a very frequent come-upsins. Do you remember Shedinja at all?
No.
Shedinja was the Pokemon that you received if you evolved Nincada into Ninjask and had an empty slot in your party, and it was the empty husk.
Oh, and it like, oh yeah, it had 1 HP, I think.
But it had Wonder Guard.
That's right. I remember what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I used him one time. It was actually very ineffective because I think it's Ghost and Bug, and there's actually quite a bit that's super effective. I found that it was not only that, but like you actually find out how often like it just dies from it killing itself from confusion.
Yes.
That happens way more than you'd think.
Oh yes, it does.
So are all the Pokemon different in this world? Because like I saw the Bulbasaur was different.
It was Boilbasaur.
Or Boil.
You know. Yeah. You can buy some Pokeballs. You'll definitely see that they're different. You're going to see a lot of the same familiar Pokemon.
Right.
But you're also going to see a lot of strange versions, and you're going to see a lot of fake Pokemon.
That makes sense.
Which are honestly entertaining.
Yeah.
And you're going to get to see...
Light Potion.
Yeah, it's called the Light Potion now. They made a few changes just to like naming things, a few abilities, a few items. I come across an item called a Broken Heart, which I still can't figure out how to use.
You know what they really need to do, and this would be my #1 complaint of Pokemon. You really need some intermediary between Super Potions and Hyper Potions. You go from healing 20 HP, healing 50 to 200 HP.
200.
Like, it escalates so quickly.
Yeah. We have the large and supersize me, supersize my Pokemon.
I just wanted. That's why I was such a big fan of like the fresh water and the lemonade. Those were perfect.
Oh, the soda pop.
Oh, I use those all the time. I mean, I wish there was like some potion that only cured for like 100 or something. I would have used that.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. By the way,
is this any different?
The Pokemon Center. The Pokemon Centers work the same way. However, actually, I'll be sorting out because they're considered like safe zones. Because the thing that interests me is you can get into fights in towns.
Oh,
like Pokemon, like people will like. I think I'm going over here to catch my first Poochyena.
Oh man.
Yeah. There we go. I did speed up battles just for the sake of keeping it interesting here, but I really regret Baltoy because there's so many Pokemon that are unaffected by Psychic type moves, especially normal type Pokemon,
right?
Which are very common in the beginning of the game, which is why I'm using Rapid Spin, which is a terrible move.
Yeah.
The other thing is they introduce a new type of Pokemon in this game called Disease type.
Oh,
which is also not affected by Psychic type.
Right. You know, I just thought of something else. What if the first Pokemon you see runs away?
You're out of luck. if you're in Abra territory, then sucks to be you.
Yeah.
So this one I named Ellie after the character in The Last of Us, which was a post-apocalyptic title.
Nice.
So somebody come up with these on the fly.
Well, it is a girl.
Yeah.
It is a female.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Did you ever care about your gender of your Pokemon?
Only for breeding purposes. Did you ever mess around with breeding at all?
I never. That's an awkward question, but no.
Did you ever breed? Did you ever make your Dittos useful?
So, I just go on this adventure, going into creepy forests and caves, breeding. No, but no. I remember when I got to like 2nd gen with like silver and gold, I was just like, if it wasn't a boy, I wouldn't catch it. Like if I was trying to catch a legend, like not a legendary, but like something rare, like a Dratini or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if like I'd sit there for an hour and then the first one would appear. If it was a girl, I'd wait. I'd go to the next one. I was just like, I don't know why I was so bothered by that.
Exactly. So coming out here, you actually got to meet one of the first main antagonists here.
Let's catch a Ralts here.
A Ralts?
Ralts. Did you ever use that psychic thing? Fairy thing? I think it was like a fairy type.
I never could get much use out of Ralts.
Oh, Ralts was amazing.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Zigzagoon.
Yeah, because this is another opportunity just to catch a Pokemon. I don't use Zigzagoon. Zigzagoon's just in that list of like entry-level Pokemon.
Yeah, but you might. I mean, you got. Oh, that was close.
Yeah.
I mean, you get that critical hit, and it's like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
It's a. I will say, I think the challenge in this game is much higher.
Yeah.
Because I did notice that there was a lot more strong Pokemon outside of like Zigzagoon. Like the trainers are much more difficult, and I noticed that was a trend when I was researching these ROM hacks. Is that everybody made the game harder, because I think the original Pokemon games are really easy. I named Cormac after Cormac McCarthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the more I'm thinking about this in my mind, I'm just seeing like all these other obstacles. I mean, like, what if you run out of Pokeballs? What if you there's just so many more things I'm sure I'm going to be thinking as I go. Yeah.
Well, those are all things that you have to plan for.
Yeah.
So
always have escape ropes with you. It probably, I'd imagine it'd be very helpful to have a Pokemon with like teleport or dig.
Right.
All right, what's going on here?
Just a zombie attack.
What the heck? It's like that. What's that?
Polyhag.
Oh, that's so funny. Are there any new moves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a few moves that I don't recognize that have been used on me. So there's some of the weird ones. I'm assuming that as the game is going to develop, you're going to see a lot more of that. Just because right now it's the beginning, so you're seeing a lot of tackles and a lot of interest, the familiar moves.
Are there Reggies in this in some way?
Not that I'm aware of, because I think it just follows a different plot line. Like, it doesn't introduce the legendaries at all.
Yeah.
So I think that it more focuses... Oh, Rotmander. So...
Oh.
Zombie Charmander.
That's great. That is so funny.
Yeah. And a lot of these Pokemon, I think, have slightly different stats.
Oh, really?
Because they were harder to take down. As you can see here, if I'm level 6.
I mean, it makes sense. Like a zombie, it just kind of doesn't feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
That is so...
I like how you still get money.
Yeah, they're still killing.
The zombie Thanks. I do like the trainers, because this is the Shorts kid.
Right.
Oh, this is one of my favorite bits. Here, I think I remember something. What's he saying? He's earning shoes.
So he becomes...
What a crappy flashback.
He becomes the voice in your head telling you what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oak is all of a sudden telling me, no, Ash, don't use this bike indoors.
Get out of my head.
Get out of my head, Oak. What's with all these...
This is something I didn't realize, and I guess I missed some of the levels of humor. There's a lot of humor in the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
I think my favorite was the NPC Shorts kid. I like shorts. They're comfy and easy to wear.
You know what was one of my favorites was in the old games, there's a hiker, I think in Rock Tomb, who he says, when you first see him, he says, hit me with your best shot. And then when you beat him, he says, fired away. I think. Things like that. I just want, did the English translators just decide to throw that in there?
Why not? Just to make it fun.
It is so random if you think about just the concept of walking around and then not walking in line, and then random people just, you're swimming out in the ocean, there are these random people floating out, where are their parents? And then they just swim up to you, and then they're like, I like water! And then you fight them, and
hey, you're not wearing shorts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here's $500 for beating me.
Here's my money.
And I'm defeated. And even though when you lose a battle, you rush, but I'm just gonna stay here with my with my dead Pokemon. Well, not dead, but
they're fainted.
They're fainted.
They're
Pokemon.
Quickly sinking to the bottom of the sea. I didn't realize this until I was playing one of the games recently. There's a trainer who's like, I battled before Pokeballs were even a thing, which I thought was funny.
Okay.
Because it really develops a timeline. Have you ever seen there is an official timeline for the video games?
No, I never saw that. Oh, that's really interesting.
When the games happen and how they don't happen.
Oh, did Nintendo release this, or was this fan stuff?
No, this is all
because they do talk about it a little bit.
They talk about it somewhat. Well, they'll immediately address the sequels.
Makes a lot more sense than a Zelda timeline.
Right. Well, basically, Red and Blue is the first entry in the title.
Sure.
Ruby and Sapphire happen at the same time. They're contemporaneous with each other.
That makes
they're
sense.
in the same timeline because you can trade with both of them, but in Gold and Silver, you need a time machine to trade back and forth between Red and Blue.
Right.
So it's set 2 years afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Diamond and Pearl. Now, this is what makes Diamond and Pearl so interesting. Diamond and Pearl takes place within Pokemon Gold and Silver, but the journey ends in Gold and Silver before Diamond and Pearl does.
Okay.
Which is what makes it so interesting, because you can trade with one of the gym leaders. I'm blanking on the name right now. You can trade for her Steelix at the end of your adventure. But she still has the Steelix in Gold and Silver. So it has to happen sometime in that time. Oh, yeah, the Broken Heart. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly to do with a Broken Heart. And I try to use it. I'm just very...
I also remember in the old days when I didn't know what evolved what. Now it's just like every guy knows that.
Oh, yeah.
Like the back of their hand. And I was like going through, Thunderstone. Which Pokemon can I use this on?
And you kept trying.
And you just had no idea like what worked on which.
Exactly. But, that was before when the internet wasn't readily available.
Yeah, you had to watch the Pokemon rap at the end of the show to learn all 150.
Oh, of course. Otherwise, there was no way to figure it out. Yeah, quickly taking notes. I liked...
So, I imagine you just got to do a lot of training, too.
Yeah.
Would be a good strategy.
So, and I showed just like, it's a lot of the same at this level, but also with the zombie element. And things start to get weird because, with the Petalburg Woods.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember the Petalburg Woods, which is like your first, it's the same as the Verdian Forest.
Right.
Which,
there's a lot of similar elements they add that I really like. It's a really, and Nintendo does this so often with so many games. They have such a great formula that they usually stick to.
Mm-hmm. I will admit, this is my mistake on editing here. I've usually edited it out. I tried to go through everything.
Just have a scene where constantly hitting A, trying to get out of the healing. Like, no, I don't want to heal them a second time.
C-Dot.
Oh, C-Dot. Oh, great.
He's never liked C-Dot.
His final version
is
pretty cool.
What is it?
It's like dark
tree.
It's like that tree.
Shiftry.
Shiftry, yeah. Oh, great Pokemon.
Yeah.
Great Pokemon.
I just always found my problem, because I usually, when I play these Nuzlocke challenges, I end up with a lot of grass Pokemon just because they have all the draining moves and they have higher defense. So my quick Pokemon, like fire Pokemon and electric Pokemon, go down really fast.
Yeah.
And you're left with a lot of ground, steel, and grass type, which has its errors all unto itself.
Yeah.
But did you miss any of the Pokemon games, or have you played through all the generations?
The only generations that I haven't missed any. I guess if you're saying generations, but I didn't play through Pearl and
Diamond.
And Diamond, yeah, I didn't play through any. Actually, I lied. I played through like half of it on emulator, but it was kind of laggy, and I just couldn't really. Mm-hmm. I just gave up. But no, I played through that a little bit, and what I really, really enjoyed was the remake of. I played through Soul Silver.
Oh,
I actually have that on DS. I played that. That is a great game. They did so much with that.
This scared me.
Oh man,
going down to 3.
Whew.
Yeah.
Taking on a level 9.
Yeah. Well, you kind of get yourself into those situations where you're just healing and praying to.
Oh my gosh, a burn.
Not the burns. Get out.
Are they? How is the leveling of, because some of the games it just seems like Silver and Gold was way too easy. I mean, you get to the Elite Four and the first Pokemon is level 40, whereas with this, I don't know. I think Ruby and Sapphire was a very good balance. It was two. Whereas the first generation is insanely hard.
It is very.
They level up really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Because as a kid, you don't really understand the concept of training, nor do you have the attention span to.
No.
So one of the interesting twists that I've realized playing Omega's Ruby.
It's funny the zombies just crumble.
Yeah, they're just gone.
It's convenient.
Yeah. So heading back, you have to heal constantly when you're playing.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Challenge, because you lose a Pokemon, it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I'll definitely have to do once it becomes an option is breeding a lot of Pokemon just as backups.
Oh, so breeding is allowed.
From what I've read online, if anybody watching this video has anything otherwise to say, there's a lot of other rules that you can self-impose. I know a lot of people play no Poke Centers or no items.
What? How could you not?
You have to buy
potions. That is ridiculous.
Every trip to the Pokemart would cost you monies.
That's ridiculous.
Which seems really difficult to me.
No, but think about that. That gets so expensive. That means you got to buy ethers. You've got to buy like every single kind of heal, like for poison and that's ridiculous. I have a really hard time seeing how that's even possible.
It'd be especially difficult in the beginning. Near the middle point of the game when money becomes not so much of an issue anymore.
I would almost think the only way to do it is have like 2 or 3 really high-powered Pokemon that can just like burn through everything, which I always found was the best strategy. Yeah. But like early, having like a lot was really challenging.
Having like 6 Pokemon.
I always found like, before the like have like 2. I don't know. I'm interested to know if you ever had a strategy with this. Like I would always have like 2 for the first gym leader, and then maybe add 1 every. I don't know. I mean, you get early. You're saving room for like the legendary that you're going to catch later, and then I don't know.
By the way, there's a battle in the middle of Petalburg City with
what is that?
It's a Squirtle.
Oh, I was so confused by the color.
Squirtle.
It's a really weird looking Squirtle.
Yeah.
Like even if the color was right.
Yeah, it's a very strange. Well, remember Squirtle wasn't actually in this game.
Right.
So they're breaking out a lot of the first generation Pokemon here.
It's a really random. I found a GIF of it online. It is funny that Pokemon you don't see in some games. So the back view, like as if you're playing it, like the view of your Pokemon right now of a Feraligatr in 3rd gen, they put like a really awkward butt on it. Look it up. It's like the weirdest
Feraligatr.
A Feraligatr. It just has like awkward like blue butt cheeks. It's just like the most awkward. But you never play a Feraligatr in 3rd gen
because you'd have to
because you only had Ruby and Sapphire, and then the remakes of 1st gen.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
well, technically, you could trade up.
Oh, sure.
Every single generation.
You could, yeah.
Because you just go from. Well, actually, you
have
probably can't go from Gold to Ruby, can you?
No, you can.
Can?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because then you could go from Red to Gold.
And once you're on DS, you can.
Right, and then you can trade from Ruby to.
Did you know that there's actually an app? Like my brother showed me this. You can actually create, because now that it's all like an online.
Oh, this is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
this woman's spears have their legs gnawed off, which accounts for why her corpse is still on the chair. Will you loot her corpse?
What?
I said yes.
Oh, this all of a sudden. And leftovers, the greatest held item.
Oh, isn't it ever? And I'm glad to know that the leftovers of her body go to help Ellie, my delightful Pucciana. That's
so funny. Did you ever check those rocks for items? I always found that rocks very often had items.
I never checked them.
Oh.
I never bothered
with rocks. I was
just
just curious. Like if you go on the beach, you'd find like all these scales and nuggets and a lot of good stuff.
I had no idea, actually.
I always found that.
Yeah.
To be the case.
This is also one of my favorite choreographed scenes in the game.
Oh, yeah.
As you'll...
That's great.
Quick run for I'll hold them off as long as I can.
Oh, that's so funny.
Just 2 lines.
Oh my gosh.
Rare.
This is legit. Mm-hmm. I am just so amazed.
So I was curious, so I just walked back, and everybody's gone.
Those flowers are still dancing.
Still dancing.
Still.
That's a trademark of Nintendo, is constant movement.
Oh, I remember that from like the early Mario games. The weird like lumpy green hills are like always just moving. They have faces.
Yeah. Here's a fun fact about Mario.
Yeah.
You know that the clouds in Super Mario Brothers, like the game, are the same as the bushes? Just one's green and one's white?
Yeah, I mean, I can't picture it exactly, but it makes sense.
Kind of
everything in the Mario world has a face.
Yeah.
You know, the mountains when you're going down, Donkey Kong,
everything
Mario Kart, everything has a face. It's just...
Yeah. Which is what makes anytime there's like a Pokemon without like a straight face or like any kind of anthropomorphic design, the zombies ate my family and destroyed my home.
Aw.
Sad.
I was so entertained by the footsteps in this. I remember I was like, oh, this is so advanced.
Oh, this is my personal favorite fight. No, these are my items.
Which is just a great line to start a battle.
Looter Lawrence.
Oh, that's funny.
And all he has is a C-Dot. So, also, one of the things that I've really noticed, you fear moves like Bide. Because it's such a risky move to attack on Bide, because it can, like, wipe out your Pokemon.
You just don't even think of things like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, your whole strategy changes. Like, you play battles slower, you think, like, well, what do I need to do here? And then you can knock them out. So, Lunar Lawrence is going to use a Talo.
One of my favorite strategies was I would just get 2 Pokemon that knew Hyper Beam. And I would switch them out. You'd use Hyper Beam, hope it would instantly kill it. Or you get it down to the point where you know a Hyper Beam is going to kill it. And then when it asks you to switch Pokemon, you switch. And then
But they're still getting a free attack.
Who?
The opponent. Because think about it. You attack, and then you switch. But switching is your move. So it's still attacking twice.
Oh, I don't know. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Huh, I don't know.
Yeah. I just kind of like looking at it. Oh, I'm trying to extract some salt. If a zombie tastes it, it turns back into a corpse. Haitian legend says so.
What?
Clearly.
You have the man with the bird who takes you.
Yeah, Mr. Briny. Because it's an island zombies can't cross. But Mr. Briny tried to eat me. So, Mr. Briny, he's not going to be playing too relevant a point here.
Wait, have you caught a Pokemon in this area yet?
Yeah, that was Zigzagoon.
Oh, so I guess that's still the same. Okay.
Yeah, it's still the same route.
And then that random lady on a hill who you can't reach for like another, 5 gyms. Hey.
Yep. Well, you don't even go to gyms in this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
it's done very differently, because the entire plot, because, like, why would you go to a gym?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. No Elite Four?
This is a surprisingly tough battle, because Surskit is a Pokemon that I always completely didn't care about. I think I was definitely subject to, if it doesn't have a cool design, it's probably not a cool Pokemon. You know, because like Surskit, it's a water bug.
Yeah, water bugs. I never really liked bug.
Yeah, the bug type. Well, bug type was always really, really, really weak.
Yeah, they just evolve early.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're your introduction to the world of, like, you know, evolution.
Right.
Because then, you know, Caterpie into Metapod into yeah. So, which actually, I heard a really interesting theory.
Why does this guy have a full restore?
Oh my god.
Oh, I think it's actually probably taken from, because I think, whoa, that's close. I think in the original game, this was like Rich Kid. Yeah. And they would always use full restores, so maybe it's like taken from that model or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these trainers are in the same locations and the same person. Right. But they're either like survivors, or they've been zombified, or they're, you know. Yeah. They have emotional problems. I like the looters. Oh my gosh, this fight. Jeez. It's a tough fight.
Well, Bug is super effective against Psychic, but I don't think it knew any Bug moves. Here's a question: what's Bug type's effectiveness against Rock? Normal?
I don't think it's associated.
What do you mean associated?
Like, I don't think that there is a plus or minus.
Oh, okay. So it's just normal.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not.
It changes like almost every generation. They'll like tweak a thing here or there. It always confuses me.
Right.
You know, it took me a really long time to actually realize that electric actually works against rock. It's just ground. Mm-hmm. And I always had it drilled in my mind that electric won't do anything against rock from yellow version. Right. Where Pikachu couldn't do anything. But it's just a lot of, I think almost every rock type Pokemon in first gen is half ground. Yeah. And that's the reason. Yeah. And it took me a really long time to figure that out.
Geodudes and all that. Yeah. All those Pokemon here.
So this is where it starts to get.
This is where it gets weird. So I personally like this guy. You mustn't go on, man. I can't let you throw your life away, so I'm going to take it.
So I'm going to.
Which is a great, great philosophy.
Oh, see, this is the rich kid.
Survivor Lyle.
Oh,
I hate Slack Off.
Oh. Terrible Pokemon.
Terrible Pokemon, and you always think it's an awful Pokemon to use, but then Norman's gym. I don't know if you remember Norman.
Oh, I
He was
remember.
the normal type.
Oh my goodness.
Surprisingly difficult.
I remember that was always like the hardest gym for me.
Yeah. Well, I always had trouble with Flannery's gym.
What type was that again?
Fire.
Oh really? I didn't remember. Well, the whole like getting to her with the warps is a freaking pain. But I don't remember fighting. Was that? See, I always like. I almost always pick the water type, so maybe that's why. But
Oh, so yeah, that would make it a little easier. See, I've never been a water type person.
Oh, dude, water's like.
I always like the obscure
water's my
type.
jam.
Like I always found like poison types to be really fun to use.
Really?
I
like never use poison types.
See, I love
I stick like to the basics.
Like to draw like a really weird correlation here. I like kind of like if you think about the Pokemon types like Magic the Gathering colors.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
I like the Pokemon that are almost closer to like blue type where it's a little more strategy. Like fairy types were a little more strategy because that was a lot about raising attack and defense. Because of moves like Charm, which were really good. I liked poison types because that was slow damage.
Right.
As a poison type, you bring into the field, you get it poison, then you get it out.
Right.
They're usually not that strong.
See, I would always try to do like really clever things like that. Like I was obsessed with the idea of getting a Pokemon that could make the opponent sleep.
Yeah.
And then you can use like
sleep is so undependable.
But I always found that it never worked because like you're in that stage where you fight some other guy that uses a Pokemon like that and it annoys the crap out of you, and then the first thing you do is go and try to find another one.
So this is actually coming up here is a pretty major battle. So also notice the 38 light potions, which were obtained during training.
It makes sense. You have like you almost always have like surplus money.
Yeah, exactly. So
makes sense.
Give me here. I never actually knew because you could actually give them potions to hold, and I don't know if they bypassed the rule in this game on whether or not a Pokemon can use like a man-made item.
I don't see why not.
Yeah. I wasn't entirely sure.
Wait, in what
that.
context?
Oh,
that's creepy.
Love it. Yeah, she'll possess you instead. This is just get ready for the stress here. This.
What am I looking at?
A cut in half Pokemon.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. So
with 3 legs.
Yes, just 3.
Well, actually, I can kind of see the 4th. It's just.
I'm trying to figure out what Pokemon it's supposed to be.
Oh, it's. I forget the name, but it's the Dark Fire.
Yeah.
Houndour. I forget the name.
Well, this is Houndour.
Which really does sound like a Pokemon name. Like you just take some English thing and twist it.
Coming up here, this is something I was not ready for at all. And notice a level 13.
Yeah.
Already. And that is a lot of damage. Using the leftovers.
Oh, berries are great.
Yeah, this is a...
Oh, that's leftovers. I thought he was using a berry.
So this is one of the battles.
Oh, this is rough.
This is challenging because throwing a level 13 at this level, and I powered up, but at the same time, Poochyena is not a strong Pokemon all in itself.
I would have used Sand Attack.
I'm almost too scared to waste a turn because I never know when a move is going to go critical, so it's almost like a race just to do damage.
Yeah.
And Bite doesn't do anything because Murkrow is Dark type.
Right.
So, but also my Psychic type moves weren't working,
no.
So I'm pretty sure this also falls under the Disease type.
Wait, what do you mean?
I was trying to use originally Psychic type moves to take it down.
Oh.
And the Super Potion.
You're kidding me.
Yes. So this is this is brutal.
Oh my gosh, this must have been so stressful.
This was incredibly stressful. Just knowing that one critical hit is going to, take me down.
Yeah.
Especially since currently my Poochyena is really the strongest and only other real member of my team besides.
I mean, even Howl would have been a good
critical
move,
hit,
too.
taking you down to 9.
And I guess nothing else, no other Pokemon in your party would really be able to even come close to this.
Nope. So it's just a
You're
matter of
stuck.
chipping away and just praying for
train
the best.
those other guys.
Yeah.
Oh
Well, the
my
problem
God.
is it's either a choice between a Zigzagoon, which isn't going to do a lot better.
In the TV world, this would have been a whole episode.
Oh, this would have been a season.
No, that's Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah.
Wait, that's the episode.
That's the episode. Find out next week why he was yelling. He's angry. He's an angry guy because Krillin's dead again. Oh my gosh, this is easily.
Oh my god.
Boom.
Oh.
Barely. Barely.
Dear
And I
God.
didn't even get a level out of it.
Wait, what did she just say? I missed that.
Such strength. So now this is worth paying attention to. Because this was my favorite twist so far in the game. So, you go lurk ahead, going on to Rustboro, crumbled into dust, demon flitted back to the Netherworld, and you looted the stone badge.
Oh, that's funny.
So
now Pokemon up to
level 30.
something, and you can use cut outside of battle.
Yep, I can now use cut. Although as for where I'm going to get that, I'm not 100% sure.
So you were telling me earlier, why don't you speak to the whole using HM moves outside of battle and how that affects things?
Well, since you can't really, you either have to sacrifice a Pokemon as an HM slave,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as has always been our...
Which we've all done.
Yeah, our Staryus, our Rattatatas, Slackoffs, all those silly little Pokemon. You either use those as an HM slave, or you kind of learn to work around them.
Yeah.
As has been the other case in Nuzlocke challenges where I've had to sacrifice a slot, you know, with a valuable Pokemon like a Numel or something just to...
You know what I found? I would always use that chameleon Pokemon.
Oh.
Because it could learn Flash, Strength, Rock Smash, and Cut.
Yeah.
It would learn all. I'd teach it all those 4.
Yeah. So the Kecleon, I think was the name.
Yeah.
The other option is, and I didn't know this, it's listed, it's one of the top 3 weakest Pokemon, Smeargle.
What's that again?
It is the one with the paintbrush for a tail.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason it's special, it can learn any move in the game.
Oh, interesting.
And that's its, like, twist, because I think the bottom 3 Pokemon, I know...
Fighting an egg.
This is a surprisingly strange fight. So, Secret Egg actually gives me quite the run for my money.
I wonder what type it is.
I'm gonna lean towards either normal or disease, because a lot of the moves aren't working. Or they're, like, really not effective. And it has surprisingly hard attack. So...
It's like a Metapod.
It is like a Metapod. And I'm kind of confused as to why this... Yes, but it also hurt itself.
Can somehow hurt itself.
Yes. This game just goes in so many strange directions, especially once it goes into the Matios, which are just orbs that have different types.
Orbs?
Yeah, they're just orbs with eyes, and there's like Ghost Matio, which is a ghost type, and then there's...
Oh, that's so legit.
King Matio, which is just disease type, and just like really...
So what's disease type, like good against, weak against?
It's not weak against anything as far as I know.
Oh, wow.
And it's good. It's a type unto itself, so it has no strengths and weaknesses, but the flip side to it is they have like weird abilities.
Oh, okay.
Like Wonder Guard. There's another Fakemon called Face Leech, which essentially only has like 1 HP. It has no defense whatsoever, but it has like really high. It has like 100 speed and 250 attack.
Okay.
So it's gonna hit you first, like every single time. But if you can survive the hit and hit it back.
Now, did you catch a Pokemon? Do I not remember?
A severed head of a Pikachu is mounted on a stake.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I obtained a super potion from it, which is always useful.
Oh, yeah.
I love the little artistic touches that he decided to go with.
That's great.
What were your go-to Pokemon with these, like, when you
I
played
always
games?
I always had a Gyarados. That
Oh,
was
you were a
just
Gyarados person.
always had to have a Gyarados.
I never liked Gyarados.
Gyarados was legit. I mean, Magikarp is a pain in the butt to train, but
Yeah.
no, I'd always have a Gyarados. I don't know. I mean, I'd always, you know, here's the thing. I would always like anticipate what I would catch before I started, and I wouldn't just catch random Pokemon. I would like plan like if I was playing a game that I played several times, I would know what kind of Pokemon appear, and I would like almost only catch them.
Right.
Like I said before, I'd always catch routes because that becomes a really great fast psychic.
Yeah.
I'd always have, you know, my starter. I'd always, you know, rely on a legendary later on. I'm trying to think what else.
I heard an interesting I heard an interesting take on this from one of the YouTuber Tamashi Hiroka, who basically said that if starter Pokemon weren't your starters, do you think anybody would really use them? Except for like Blaziken. Like if you came across like a Trico in the wild, would you even really like bother with it?
Oh, I mean, I never really used the grass starters, but I feel like I'd use them if they appeared wild.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
And she just brought up that point. She's like, for so many of these Pokemon, there's always like a better alternative.
Maybe not necessarily. I don't know.
You know, but she was just like, you know, people always become the over-leveled ones because they have good level rates and they're your first one, so it starts at a level 5, so it's got an advantage over everything else. And also for the first part of the game, you're not even really coming across anything with a competitive type. Well,
this is true. You have a lot of very basic types early. You have a lot of like poison, bug, normal, compared to like something really interesting, like a fire type.
Right.
Oh, I don't know.
Right.
Although I would very often pick the water type, and I'd also have my Gyarados too. But then a lot of people were always like, "Oh, you should get fire because there aren't a lot of fire type," which just kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, this actually wraps up our episode.
Like water. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I brought us basically to this point where she's saying there's trouble up in Rustboro. I thought that was a good end to an episode. We have one gym badge under our belt.
Nice little cliffhanger.
Yeah. So if you guys liked the video and actually followed us to this point, be sure to subscribe.
Yeah.